Is there a strategy that'll help you grow your company faster? CEO Sales Strategies is an investigative business podcast for entrepreneurial people who never stop asking questions. Highly acclaimed sales revenue growth expert Doug C. Brown interviews CEOs, business owners, and professionals who serve them to uncover and share actionable tips and methods behind their bulletproof sales strategies. Topics covered on the show include their failures, struggles, secrets, and processes that help them succeed in selling millions to billions of dollars of their products and services, all with the sole aim of helping you grow your business. If you are eager to know the most effective sales secrets from the A players of the game, then the CEO Sales Strategies podcast is certainly the place to be.
Hey everyone, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies podcast, bringing you another great episode. We have Jing Johnson. Okay, so it's pronounced Jing, but spelled J-I-N-G. And she owns a company that's called PRISM Renderings. And I wanted to have her on this podcast because she has built a long-standing company, and she's been doing it specifically on using client appreciation. In other words, what she's done is she's built a very connected client base through her company, doing what they call renderings, which is for architectural, for design, for brokers, for real estate developers, and others. And she'll explain more of that as we go along. But it's really about how to take a person from, hey, I don't know you, to a prospective potential buyer, to a friend, and then to ultimately the advocate play. This is how she's built her business over the years. We also attack a little bit of, when people are going, this is hard in my business, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, think about this. This lady came from China, and she came into the country, not really understanding English all that well, and built a very successful business here in the United States. And we talk a little bit about struggle and how it goes. The interview takes a little bit of time to get into the sales side of the interview. And I know some of you people who are, the high drivers, those high Ds, going, get to the interview, get to the meat, right? It will get there, I promise you, as you go along. So check it out. We're talking a lot about how to be a company that drives client advocacy. And that is such a key today because you get, tons of referrals. In fact, over 90% of her business comes in from referrals, even though she has an outbound team that's going after business as well. All right, without further ado, let's go see Jing. Jing, welcome to the CEO Sales Strategy Podcast. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. I love your company. I love what your company does. And we're going to focus today, as I was saying in the intro, on, how you created your company and created the sales that you've created, and being very client focused and deep connected with the community that you have of architectural firms and real estate developers and others. So could you kind of give a little before we go to the background, would you, because a lot of times people don't know what a rendering company would be. So would you give the kind of like, what is this?
Okay. So basically we create images like 3D renderings and animations for projects that have not been built. It helps people to visualize what the building or a space look like after it's built. So it's a very efficient and powerful tool to help people, like our clients are architects and developers, to either get the funding or get in front of the potential talents, or get in front of the city to really show their vision of the projects.
So it's kind of like a model, a 3D rendering or a rendering of a model of a community or a building or whatever, and how it's going to look like before they actually even put it together and build the building or build the community or something like that. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So it's so cool because it's kind of like, you watch the movies today and they'll pan through like an architectural firm or whatever. And sometimes they build the old model thing, right? But what you do is you take that model and you actually put it in a digital form, and you can animate it and you can do all kinds of different things. That's what I understand about it. It's futuristic. And it's really cool because I've seen a few renderings now. So I appreciate that. Now, look, you've been in business for 16 years. And for those of us who are listening on this, 16 years is a pretty long run for a company to be in. It's not many companies make it 16 years. So you've been doing this for 16 years successfully. I'd like to take you back now to like when you started. Why did you, what happened? Why did you start the company? Because I found your story fascinating.
Well, I came from China in 93. So I grew up in a family, both my parents were structural engineers. So I grew up in the company they work with in. It's a huge architecture engineering institute. So that's all I knew. I grew up during the civil revolution, in China. So we don't have a lot of entertainment or, anything. It was just a very innocent, childhood. Both my brother and I went to their office every day after school. We do a homework over there. I was surrounded by architecture drawings and renderings, hand renderings, not digital ones, growing up. And naturally, both my brother and I chose architecture going to college. So I got my bachelor and master degree in China, and worked a couple of years before I applied to graduate school in the States, and eventually moved here in 93. So I work after I graduate from University of Houston Architecture School. I work in 2 or 3 architecture firms. And then I had, I have 2 boys at a young age when I start to thinking about start my own businesses, just because the struggle I had between work and home life. It was architecture work is very demanding time-wise, so I was always struggling between taking care of my boys and stay late for work. And at the time, we actually were doing some project in China. And that's how I put 2 and 2 together for my business model. Because China was the construction industry were booming for about 15 years at the time. And so the rendering industry was just also booming with the whole construction industry. So I just put 2 and 2 together. I figured out, if I can bring design expertise from the States to China, I can also bring that rendering visualization side of the expertise back here to the States, which we definitely needed here.
So at that time, did you learn English when you were growing up, or you learned it when you got here in the United States?
I did had an English class, and I was really. It's funny you ask that, because everybody thought my English was good at the time, right? Because I always made the best grade in the class. However, I don't use it, right? It's really just my test. I'm doing well in the test. It's very different than you speak the language. So right. When I came over here, it was a struggle. Definitely that's probably the only period of my life that I was very quiet. I couldn't, it was just, in terms of communications in English, I was definitely not there. It was very challenging for me.
So there's some lessons in this that I want to pull out. Firstly, there's a lot of people listening to this podcast, and they're thinking, okay, well, you know what? I got struggles in daily life too, right? That type of thing. But here's what I heard. All right, you come from a different country. Your primary language is Mandarin. It's not English. You have to learn the language. So you had to struggle through the language. So you got struggle right there about doing business in the United States, because you're really not able to drive English speaking business really at that point. So you started this company because of a desire to actually have a family life and know your kids growing up as they grew up, right? So when people are in a struggle mode, because I got to imagine there were some times where you're like, oh, geez, I got the kids, I'm juggling that. I can't speak the language, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe I should just work in China. By the way, brilliant move, because folks, any of you who realize if you want to grow your revenues fast, find a buying market and go into that market, right? May not even be your primary market that you're thinking about, but go into the market because the market is already telling you there's demand for that versus trying to be a pioneer forging into a new market. So you were smart enough to say, okay, listen, I have this market in China and I'm going to go there first. Then I'm going to bring what I know back to the United States. I want to get into the customer focus thing in a moment, but I really want to hear from you on if somebody's at a place and they're struggling, what would you tell them? In other words, you pushed through this. How did you push through this? What was the driving force to continue to go, continue to learn English, continue to bring your knowledge into the United States, and then build your business here?
Well, I think two things. One is I believe in it. I believe in the service that our local market definitely needs a consistent, reliable rendering service. And also in myself is like, I just have that strong will, I guess, that I need to make it work, right? To provide a good, balanced life for my kids and myself career-wise. For me, it's like no option. Actually, even after this first 16 years, and no matter how difficult it gets, I know a lot of people talk about quitting, and it never occurred to me to quit. It's just like how I can make it better, how I can get through it. That's just always been the way I live my life and work.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons you're successful, right? Because a lot of people in business, they run through struggles and hard times. I mean, I have too. And so if we're not pointing our nose in a direction and every day asking that question, I'm going to take a step today. Where do I need to go to make this better? Where do I need to go to make this better than yesterday? Where do I need to go to make this better tomorrow than today? If we're not asking that question on a consistent basis, it's really easy to get lost in the struggle or a lot, because there's going to be things, and you and I both know this, you've been in business for 16 years. I suspect not everything's gone smooth through the whole 16 years, right? So you wake up one day and it's like, boom, oh no, what are we going to do with this? Folks, you still have to keep your nose pointed in the direction you want to go and keep taking steps and asking that. I think that's a brilliant question. What can I do today, to make it better? So you focus on the positives. We're speaking with Jing Johnson, and she owns a company called PRISM Renderings. They're in Houston, Texas, and I highly recommend you check them out online. Jing, I want to move to, all right, you started this company. You had no command of the English language, really, or little at that point. You had this desire to have a family life. You were never going to quit. And even in our conversations, I can tell that's part of your success. And you've been in business over 16 years. You've driven your company up. You have employees. You've done everything that, most businesses would want to do. And you want to continue to keep growing your revenue, which is something that all businesses tend to want to do, but not all do. So, but you have a extremely loyal client base. And I love how you built your company. And it's a client focus, deeply centered on client connection and humanization of your clients. Could you describe what that means? I know I threw out a bunch of verbiage here, but in your own words, what does a client-focused, humanized business look like?
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of related to your last question. What also, in addition to the determination and belief of the business and service, our clients' support and appreciation is another critical factor for me to continue going, because that's what drives me. Wake up every day and just every time we get a great feedback or a client let us know the great outcome, our service provided to their projects or businesses just make me, smile every time I see those and those comments or feedback. I have a very close team that we have 7 moms. Actually, we're all moms team. We do care each other. We are like not just teammates and colleagues. We are like family. And same goes to our clients. We don't consider them just clients. They are our friends. We actually in like Houston last year, we had flood and for a winter storm. We would reach out to all our clients and the people who actually struggle with some damage. We will send a DoorDash card, and all clients have charity organization that needs support. We are there, with them. For us, it's really, for me, like work and life, you can't just separate, separate them. They're all connected. So we trying to be, as supportive as possible, and servant leadership, servant, attitude is our one of our core values. So with the clients, we just deeply care about their project. We want them to be successful. In the meantime, if we have an opportunity to support them on the personal level or charity level, we more than happy to do so. So that for us is very important.
So the key here is they're not just clients. You're looking for a closer connection, and you're making them friends, right? And so people are listening. They might be going, well, that's cool, but does it really yield more business? And the reality is you're getting business from referrals. And, in sales, I teach this as well. It's like, they're not just a buyer. Your ultimate goal is to get invited to a wedding, or your ultimate goal is to get invited to a family event, right? Because when you have that, now they're your client. A lot of people talk about clients, but most of them have customers. So if we talk, what you've done is you've taken that and gone from prospective buyer to friend. And we all know.
To advocate, also to advocate.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, the people who really believe in us and really love what we do and just can't wait to refer us to, other people. 90% of our new businesses are from referrals. And we have long-term clients over, the past, 12, 15 years. At the beginning of our clients, two of the clients we started with still with us.
So when we have clients that buy from us again and over, the cost of acquisition is in the initial client. It costs you nothing out marketing or, cost wise. I mean, you might have a little bit of sales costs if your sales team is driving that number, but the reality is your profitability is much higher when you build it into that model, and you go from I don't know you to prospective buyer to friend to advocate, because now you get the exponential growth factor from being an advocate. And so those advocates are out there promoting. And also with advocates, what I've found is you might have that client or that potential buyer that's on the fence every once in a while. It's like, oh, geez, I don't know, and then they speak to an advocate, and the advocate basically is going, what are you, crazy? This is the best place you ever could be in your life, right? With conviction.
Yeah.
And that.
And the trust.
And the trust.
Yeah. I think, we are in the B2B, space. So that trust, reliability is so important. I think one of the reasons I started a business is because when I was working in the architecture firms, I remember we always asked, whenever we need a rendering service, we were like, who we should call, because many, companies out there to have that consistent, reliable business for any of the architecture firms locally to, to trust and work with. So we want to be that company that we are here for a long haul. We are going to be here whenever you need us. So that trust factor is so important in the sales process. It's not just a transactional, it's really long-term trusting relationship we have with our clients.
And I firmly agree with that. In fact, Stephen Covey, the late Stephen Covey, he wrote a book called The Speed of Trust. And it's really on this whole factor. It's like the more someone trusts us, the quicker to the sale, really, when it comes down to it. I'll give you an example outside of of our space. I'm looking for a new home, right? So I see this home in an area that I've been before, and I call 3 of my friends in this area and I say, hey, I'm not really sure. Is this in a really desirable neighborhood? Because I wasn't sure, because I haven't been there in a couple of years and things change. And so I called, my friend Bill, I called my friend Will, I called my friend Russ, I talked to Cindy, actually there was 4 of them. And here's what they did. So they literally said, Doug, listen, you know what? I'll take a drive by the property and take a look at it for you. Now, I want people to think about that. How many, by the way, they were my clients, right? So, and we've done lots of work back and forth. How many people would say, I'm going to take out of my work day, I'll go drive by a property just to make sure it's a good deal for you, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll talk to some people. And then they introduced me some new people that I didn't even know. Mm-hmm. That's an advocate, really, when it comes down to it, because they're an advocate for the other real estate people that they were talking to. They're an advocate for me. They're putting a good deal together. And I know you do this like a master in your company, but you're not like manipulative. You're just doing this out of a natural client focus to build trust.
Yes. I think people can tell if you are faking it, or, you got to be true, and people can tell if you are truthful or just faking it.
So Gina, if people are listening to this and they're going, you know what, I want to know more about renderings. I'm assuming, but please correct me, it's not just architectural or real estate development. There's probably other companies that could use renderings if they're doing something. How would they get more information? I mean, what's the website? Where should they go?
Yeah. So just in addition to architecture firms, developers, we also work with the owner side and the brokerage companies. As far as the contact information, they can go to my LinkedIn profile. It's Jing, not many Jing Johnson, I'm sure, out there, Jing and Johnson. And our website is prismrenderings.com.
Cool. Well, Gene, I appreciate you being here on the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. And folks, those of you who are listening, remember, build them into advocates, be client focused, drive them to the next place. You'll have clients buying from you as she has for the last 15 years over and over and over, and then referring you out to other clients, which reduces your acquisition costs and increases your speed to close very, very, very much. So, Gene, thanks again. Appreciate you being here on the CEO Sales Strategy podcast.
Thank you, Doug. It
is so important for us, especially in, this year, 2022, post-pandemic, but I'll predict post-pandemic, to understand that sales has changed, and sales has gone from, just providing information. It's really gone. If you want to go and be in the top 1%, you've got to get client advocates. It's that simple. The client advocates are people who are going to give you other clients. How do you do that? You build a lot of trust. You build a lot of trust. You build a lot of friendship. You go in above and beyond and do things for your clients that others wouldn't do. It makes you stand out. And guess what? When you ask them for a favor, they're more than happy to do so. And when they proactively do it or reactively, someone says, hey, you know what? I'm looking for the service that you provide or the product you provide. Those advocates are there to spread the word. I mean, if you think about it, in a lot of businesses, even if you go into, say, religion as a business, how's it spread? Hey, come to my church. Hey, what church do you belong to? Hey, what faith do you belong to? Let's talk about this. People are talking and they're being advocates for what they believe in. So when you create an advocate in your business, they believe in you. when they believe in you and they believe in your company, they'll pass more business to you. All right. So as always, go out, sell something, sell a lot of things, do it profitably, make a lot of money. If you like this podcast, do me a favor, give it a review. And if you would, please subscribe to the channel. The more subscribers we get, obviously it pushes us up into the rankings. The more better rankings we have, the more people we can affect, and we can positively improve their lives. So this is Doug C. Brown. If you're looking to grow your company, get your people or your company to the top 1%, no matter what size you are of sales globally in your industry, reach out to me at Doug Brown 1234 on LinkedIn or Doug@businesssuccessfactors.com, and let's talk. Again, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategy Podcast.